because very soon I want to get you back to work, because you're really beginning to do some of the hard work of thinking how this thing comes out of the box and how it gets shared. Glenn was reminding me of a group that, for instance, in homelessness, here the principle behind what I'm about to suggest is, you know, in all these things we're doing, there are other people working in this field already. How can we learn from people that are who are enjoying the outcomes we're looking for? So we don't have to recreate, you know, everything. So, for instance, with homeless issue, have any of you run into the open table approach to this? It's a fascinating approach, and you can just Google theopentable.org, and you can make reservations at your favorite restaurant. No, it's a different group, basically, that has a person who's struggling in an area. It could be homeless, it could be the working poor, somebody trying, you know, putting a board of directors around it is what we call it. Puts them in charge so they can participate in their own recovery. But basically, it's a group of about a dozen people that come around this person to support them. And so it creates relationships. They eat together, so there's fellowship. There are life skills that are good, but it allows the person to say, this is what I need, this is what I want help with, and puts them in the context of a relationship, which is the biggest key, as we know. Again, particularly in recovery, and when you talk about breaking cycles, whether it's cycles of poverty or cycles of abuse or whatever, having that supportive community over time is the most important element. But putting people at the table that then can say, well, I think I could help you with that, you know, or I know somebody, go see Fred. I mean, it's like a life coaching board around each of these people.
And it's church-based.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to get 100 churches involved, like you guys said, it's something, instead of asking the pastor, hey, we'd like to have your church involved, which the pastor thinks immediately that means I need to come and sit with you, and that's going to take time out of my busy schedule to say, well, I'm not asking for your assistance other than asking for people who may be interested in being a part of a group that will sit with one leader of a homeless family or one person and have them be the board chair and bring your skills to bear on the problem, on this problem of homelessness. And you can engage churches fairly quickly if you have a simple, seemingly simple program.
Yeah, that they can just implement.
That they can implement instead of as kind of a general, we'd like you to help and be a part of a big coalition.
Yeah.
You know?
People need help to know, well, what do I do? And the more specific we can be, this is what's involved, then they can make the good decision.
Right.
And so I appreciated his memory of that. But that goes for everything, whether it's, you know, building a youth center or literacy. I mean, people are already working all these areas. Let's get the best idea. And part of your early work on mutual agenda stuff is the research into it. Well, I want you, I'm going to send you back into your groups. That first exercise this morning was designed to frustrate you without having enough time to deal with it. So I want you to pick up on those conversations, but I also will give you another template to fill out because, you know, y'all love that stuff. And apparently, and then, or I'll give you another template to ignore. But I want to remind you of a few things as we send you now to say everything we've heard today and yesterday. How do we pull this together? What are we going to leave here and do? So just a couple of reminders, actually 5 reminders. When you're trying to build go ahead, ED, and toss that little first slide up. When you think about having a collaborative culture, and go ahead. Is it? I mean, yeah, it's coming. Okay. So in terms of having a collaborative culture that as you're thinking about next steps and what you're going to do, always remember that it's not just a position of influence. You can be an officer, you can be whatever, but influence in collaborative efforts is personal. Leadership is personal. And it's not just because you have a title behind you or whatever. Secondly, and you mentioned this yesterday, I think, I can't remember, I think it was you, and I can't remember your name because your name tag's turned over backwards, and it's not even the name tag that we gave you. I don't know why you, no, I know, got you, Margot. It's back here. Yeah, Emily, I'm sorry, I couldn't remember. But you mentioned this thing about trust yesterday. And I can tell you that's what, and some of you others have talked about it, building trust. That's your currency. Now I can tell you this, it can take a while to build up a bank account, but you can take that, you can empty that account overnight. I mean, you can take, I'll give you an example. So working out in San Francisco with a group of pastors and church leaders that are we're trying to start a literacy campaign, all right? And the first part of it was a summer reading program and all that. One of the members of the group took it on herself, and very well-meaning, wonderful woman, very well-meaning. She just created a flyer that she distributed to all the churches in the area. This is in Mid-Peninsula area, Redwood City. And it listed all, only so many kids can read at this level, only kids. The problem was the school board and administration took that as an indictment on them. So it didn't matter what she meant to do with that. The way it came across to them was, you're failing at your job, so you need our help. Well, I mean, boom, we were done. I mean, it just destroyed that run. It took 6 months, lots of coffees, lots of dinners, because if trust is, if you discover it, and it will happen, people will misunderstand and stuff like that, go to work on repairing it that night. Don't let the sun go down on your anger or the trust issue. And until you can rebuild that, you're kind of stuck wherever you are. Third thing to remember always is, like we talked about, if trust is your currency, communication is lifeblood. If people are cut out of the communication loop, they just die and they fall off. I mean, you lose them. And so, is the blood getting everywhere? Or, are we getting nutrients? Are we getting information to every single aspect of our collaborative that we're trying to build? And then there's a fourth thing. If we are leaving and trying to call a party, we've got to build into this whole project accountability. But it's got to be mutual accountability. In other words, those of us who are in church, you as a group or backbone or however you wind up, have to practice the same accountability that we're asking other folk to pony up for. And that's not just accountability, the slap, but I mean, if assignments are given, are assignments followed up on? Do we honor the work that's being done so that people take their assignments seriously? A whole host of things, but anyway, it's got to be around the board, and this can be one of the, if you don't practice accountability, and you've got people in the collaborative not pulling their weight, that is one of the biggest demotivators to every other person in the project. Because they say, well, this really doesn't matter. I mean, so you have to have the courage to build this in from the get-go, and you do it not from a punitive point of view, but just as a way that we're all still in the game here, right? And then a fifth thing to remember in everything that you're thinking about, and next time we get together, we're going to focus an entire session on this, on roadblocks. But you and I'll tell you, let's just go ahead and popcorn those right now. We'll be more specific next time, but what are some of the things that get in the way of collaboration? Ego, big time, number one, always. Who gets credit? you know, or whatever. Yeah, what else?
Time.
Time, sure does. What else? We could give this to you instead of making you write it down but this is for the tactile learners that need to feel the pen scratching the page, get it in your brain. Others of you say, would you just give me this? You know, I can listen. We'll give you a 48-minute podcast on these 5 minutes. All right. What else? Ego, time, what else gets in the way?
Going down different rabbit
Totally. Different agendas. Yeah. What else? And not just that, but distraction, to your point. You know, we're distracted from the main thing. We got off that somehow. And we're having what else?
Does lack of influence play into that?
Yeah, there are always leadership issues, including not having the right people at the table. To your point, you've got to have people that are going to say to the community by their engagement, or they've lent you their name, not just their checkbook, and then they've lent you the time that say this is important. They bring, because if they say we need to move this building over a foot, people will be out there tugging on it. Got to have the right people at the table. What else?
Funding.
Funding, sure it is. Sure can be an issue. Well, we'll be really specific about 15 different challenges to collaborative efforts next time, but you know, between now and when we get together in January, just screw up wildly, and then we'll fix it. You send boldly. Don't mess around with this. I mean, really put yourself behind the 8 ball. Don't. All right. Just. All right. No, I would recommend that you be too afraid to try anything and just cower in the dark. And we'll have Christmas and God rest you, Mary Jane. All right. So. And you'll always ask the question, Evie, let me go ahead and get those two up there. You always keep asking yourself, who else? Probably the word needs to be, who else is involved? Who else needs to be at the table? They're always folks. And then, and then you're thinking about the how of it. Because people need to know how we're going to do this together or they won't sign up. And there again, if you talk to associations like Network, many of you talked about getting your churches involved. Churches don't know how to work together. Can I just say that? So you're going to have, if they did, they're not. We got ample evidence. So, you're probably going to have to, lead the way and build this collaborative culture. Now, what we want you to do, any questions about it? I should ask that. Any question, comment, or wish you hadn't said that?
Can you have too much communication?
I doubt it. And people will tell you, if you get to that point, people will tell you, I'd like to unsubscribe from this email list or whatever, then I will pay attention. The key mostly is getting the right nuanced communication so people don't feel like it's too much.
Yes.
That it really fits them. And that's why your communications team, however this gets done as you move forward, has to think about different constituencies to need different messaging. There may be a central story you want to use in all 5 things that you're sending out, but outside of that, each one of those has a very specific thing you're trying to communicate to the folks that are on that list.
Plus, it's really important with top-level leaders, if you really got the right leaders in the coalition, that they don't just get newsletters,
Right.
that they don't just get, here's an update that we're sending out to 50 people. It has to be clear their names at the top of that email. And it's right from a principal executor of the partnership.
Yeah, dear Fred, here's an update. Thought you'd be interested in this. Love to hear your thoughts.
Right.
That
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
Then it's not, in this
You
list.
can cut and paste a lot of things
Oh, yeah.
over and over again, but you want to personalize it as much as possible and then ask, like Reggie said, love to get your input.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah.
Always you're asking for it, because that's just, it's people, or it's even, we've got a meeting coming up next week. I wrote a person in the car on the way here today while Glenn was swerving around.
Trucks.
18-wheelers and
Yeah, that's
stuff,
right.
right?
That's right.
And anyway, who cares? And it's a person in our governor's office that I know about, and I'm speaking to a group next week, and I said, I'd love to get your, and she's besieged by a number of emails every day, as you can well imagine, sitting in the governor's office. So I said, I need your input, Melanie, by next Wednesday. I'd love to share your thoughts with this group of leaders. Now, people can hardly resist that. It's her way too of saying to the governor, we had 190 church leaders, and our thinking about this got shared with him. I'll edit it. I won't just cause the governor said it. But so that I always ask for the feedback. That's a really good way to keep people engaged. Sure. As a matter of fact, that meeting is about what doesn't matter. All right. I want to get you, just really quick, because you got to work harder than you've been working. You've been fooling around with these exercises and just bumping gums and who wants to fill out the sheet. All right. Well, here's one more. This one, I know it's really important, and it's called simply "What's Next?" And out of everything we've discussed, including the stuff that you maybe just left talking about, what are the next key steps? And this will be on the large tip. We will have this individually, as Angela always does. What are the key steps? In other words, this is not an idea. What are you leaving here and going to go do? And based on that idea, based on an insight, based on vision, based on whatever, what are we going to go do? Now, but just naming something we're going to do is never a plan, unless we think about, all right, who has that assignment? Or is it one person? Is it a team? Is it, or somebody we got to get to, we got to talk to, and then what's the timeline? Do we expect this to be done in a week, or is this a month, or between now and Christmas, and then how will you know you're making progress? If you don't build in that accountability of knowing what the score is, you won't know if this is getting done. So when we come back, and we're going to give you plenty of time to work on this, I'm going to shoot for about, give you an hour and a half. And to sustain your efforts along the way, shortly, lunch will be delivered over here. It's a carving station with lobster and some stuff like that. I'm sure that Angela's arranged for, but or it's a lunch. It's a box lunch. Now I've eaten a lot of box lunches. I don't know why people like boxes, but it's something that is easily, and you can just work at your table. It'll be delivered shortly, sometime between, which is right now. So in the next few minutes, as you start working, when you're ready, your food will be over here. Pick it up, keep working. We call this a working lunch. And although some of you, it may take you out. In fact, on box lunches, I really don't care what's in the box. They say ham and turkey or whatever. I want to know the cookie that's in the box. I don't care. And Jason's Deli, all over the country. I hate Jason's Bakery. Or they have this thing, they put the pickle in a little sleeve but lay it on top of the cookie. So you get a chocolate chip cookie that tastes like a pickle. I mean, it is the most disappointing box lunch that and as soon as I see them delivered, I just give up and I just ask God to take me on heaven. I can't eat another chocolate chip pickle. So anyway, look for the right cookie or barter your way in, and then and I'll come around and retrieve us. But I really do at 12:45. We want to hear from you, but I'll be in touch. Okay, got it? Go for it. And we'll let you know when lunch is here. You don't have to do it right then, but we'll let you know. Angela will let you know. She has one thing to do.
But we know that's not true.
Just one. So you guys, this is, of course, I know we're working hard too. Y'all want to chat about anything? I think concerning you, make you feel board, it gives you a chance to have a long conversation with them. And I think that's the best. But we're available if y'all want to chat about anything more. This is a good time to catch up on email. We're easy.
Or, you know, there's a day trader in the room, you could just day trade with him. You guys probably have a lot of investments.
Are you responsible for investing is that part of your deal? Someone else does that?
Is that in Atlanta?
Yes.
Oh, really? They invest the Florida money?
It's a territorial, city.
Goes into a holding fund at territorial headquarters. Now, the thing is, if to be invited to that meeting is an incredible experience because it's not just one or two guys managing. We have
It's not bankers who are volunteering their time.
Right. Each one with a particular expertise.
Wow.
and
It's a lot of money.
it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, oh my God.
Still,
it took 2 years just to count, to know how much it was.
now,
2 days.
2 years, 4.
Oh my God.
Oh, but for Atlanta, but for the Southern Territory, we got through it.
Now, I spoke to all the Croc leaders about 3 years ago. Where after I think we had. That was an interesting experience. 24, and there'll never be any more. I mean, it's capped at the level. And talk about a strategic position and what could happen. And I probably shouldn't say this out loud. I've never done it. But I was shocked at so many of them, they'll have a core. And I said, you got to quit thinking of the core as the church that meets here. You're certain you have a ticket.
Yes, yes.
You got to think of it like, and it's like, I don't know if that idea is gaining traction little by little, I hope.
So I met not too long ago with an officer who was really struggling because his Sunday